Thanks, Diane. Thank you very much. And it's great to be here in London tonight to talk to you about how we can move to a 100% renewable electricity grid by investing in energy efficiency. And it's also great to be in London tonight because London is the home of Diane Zoller, Sir Adam Beck, and Chris Bentley. Let's start with Diane. The Ontario Clean Air Alliance was established in 1997 to achieve the phase-out of our dirty coal-fired power plants. And 1 year later, Diane Zoller and the Thames Region Ecological Association joined the Ontario Clean Air Alliance. And since then, they've been one of our strongest supporters. Diane and I have worked together for 13 years to phase out the dirty coal plants in Ontario. And the good news is that thanks to Diane and people like her, we can phase out the dirty coal-fired power plants right now in Ontario. And when we're talking about the coal phase-out, it's important to remember that we phased out coal once before in this great province. Specifically, at the beginning of the last century, Sir Adam Beck and Ontario Hydro phased out coal for the first time. And they phased out coal by developing Ontario's vast hydroelectric resources. And not only did Sir Adam Beck and Ontario Hydro phase out coal, but they created a virtually 100% renewable electricity grid for this great province that lasted for almost 50 years. Now finally, it's great to be here tonight because London is also the home of Chris Bentley, Ontario's new Energy Minister. And Chris Bentley has the opportunity to be Ontario's new Sir Adam Beck. First, Chris Bentley has the opportunity now to phase out our dirty coal plants for the second time. And this time, we can do it forever. Also, Chris Bentley has the opportunity, by investing in energy efficiency, to move us towards a 100% renewable electricity grid and to reduce our electricity bills by billions of dollars per year. Today, Ontario's electricity system is at a crossroads. It's at a crossroads for two reasons. First, we're phasing out the dirty coal plants. And second, virtually all of our aging nuclear reactors are coming to the end of their lives during the next 10 years. So we now have a unique opportunity to rebuild our power system from the ground up and move once again to a 100% renewable electricity grid. Now, at the present, we get about 25% of our electricity in Ontario from renewable sources. And most of that renewable energy are from the hydroelectric generating stations that Sir Adam Beck and Ontario Hydro built in the first half of the last century. Now, Dalton McGuinty, he's promising, with this Green Energy Act, to increase the percentage of our renewable electricity from 25%, what it is today, to 38% by 2030. So that's an important step in the right direction. But unfortunately, Premier McGuinty is also planning to rebuild 4 nuclear reactors at the Darlington nuclear station. And he's planning to rebuild 4 nuclear reactors at the Bruce B nuclear station, and he's planning to build 2 brand new nuclear reactors at Darlington. Now, according to Premier McGuinty, this will cost $33 billion. $33 billion. But my friends, every nuclear project in the history of Ontario has gone massively over budget, on average by 2.5 times. So a more realistic estimate of the cost of Premier McGuinty's nuclear spending program is $80 billion. $80 billion. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to spend $80 billion on nuclear power when we've got 3 great options to keep our lights on that are cleaner, safer, and lower cost than new or rebuilt nuclear reactors. And these 3 better options are energy efficiency, stop wasting natural gas, and water power imports from the province of Quebec. Let's start with energy efficiency. As Chris mentioned, we're starting to get on the right track with respect to energy efficiency. Since 2005, our total electricity consumption has fallen by 10%. Fallen by 10% in Ontario. And our GDP has continued to rise. But we still have a huge untapped energy efficiency potential. For our electricity consumption per person is 27% higher than that of New York State. So there's still a lot more that we can do just to match New York State's level of energy efficiency. And energy conservation and efficiency is by far the lowest cost option to keep our lights on. So it's good for our pocketbooks. The cost of saving a kilowatt hour is 1/10 to 1/5 the cost of a new nuclear reactor. And energy conservation investments are the best way, are the most cost-effective way to move to a 100% renewable electricity grid. Because energy efficiency, by reducing the demand for electricity, makes it easier for us to obtain 100% of our grid-supplied electricity from renewable sources. Now, the second best option to meet our electricity needs is to simply stop wasting natural gas. Virtually every home and building in Ontario uses natural gas to provide just one service, namely heat. And it is much more efficient to use those same molecules of natural gas to simultaneously produce heat and electricity. And that's what combined heat and power plants do. And as a result, they're very energy efficient. Combined heat and power plants can have an overall energy efficiency of 80 to 90%. And because of their high efficiency, they're a low-cost source of supply. The cost of electricity from a combined heat and power plant is 1/3 the cost of a new nuclear reactor. And the good news is that Ontario has a huge potential for combined heat and power. Our combined heat and power potential is equal to the total capacity of our existing nuclear reactors. So combined heat and power can play a huge role in replacing our aging nuclear reactors. And you know, it's great to be in London because London is a leader in Ontario in terms of combined heat and power. It's a leader. And I don't know how many of you realize that this room is heated by a combined heat and power plant. Did any of you know that? Well, a few people did. That's great. And London has, how many of you know, put up your hand please, if you know about London District Energy. Okay, well we're in a good audience then. London District Energy, it has a combined heat and power plant. It's located by the London Free Press building. And that combined heat and power plant, it's a natural gas-fired power plant. It provides 30% of the electricity for downtown Toronto, for downtown London, I remember where I am. And also through a series of underground steam tunnels, pipes, it heats over 50 buildings in the downtown core, including this building. So there's a magnificent example of using energy very efficiently. And that's one of your best kept secrets. And in addition to the London District Energy combined heat and power plant, you've got other combined heat and power plants in London. At the Labatt's Brewery, at the Victoria Hospital, and at the Casco plant. So London's a leader in terms of combined heat and power. And so that's just great news. And combined heat and power plants, again, by having buildings and factories generate some of their own electricity, it again reduces the demand for grid-supplied electricity and makes it easier for us to move to a 100% renewable electricity grid where all the electricity coming in from the electrical wires to your home or your building comes from renewable sources. So what we need to do is we need to create 1,000 points of light across Ontario by converting our apartment buildings, our condominiums, our shopping malls, our recreation centres, our hospitals and our factories into small-scale combined heat and power plants. Now, so combined heat and power is a great transition option to help us replace our aging nuclear reactors and move to a renewable energy system. But it is important to remember that, natural gas combined heat and power plants, they are fueled by natural gas, which is a fossil fuel and produces greenhouse gas emissions. So if we are going to use combined heat and power to meet our electricity needs, that has to be combined with policies which will dramatically reduce Ontario's total natural gas consumption between now and 2050. And the good news, that's a win-win proposition for Ontario, because policies to conserve natural gas will also reduce our energy bills and reduce the outflow of Ontario dollars to Alberta to purchase natural gas. Now, in terms of renewable energy, by far our lowest cost source of renewable electricity are water power imports from the province of Quebec. Water power imports from Quebec can provide us with renewable electricity at 1/3 the cost of a new nuclear reactor. But unfortunately, we're not fully exploiting our water power import potential. Last year, hydroelectric imports from Quebec provided us with only 1.8% of our electricity supplies, despite the fact that they have the potential to provide us with 18% of our electricity needs without the need for any additional transmission lines between Quebec and Ontario. But I want to make clear that while we are very strong supporters of water power imports from Quebec, we are not advocates for new hydro dams. We do not support the construction of new hydro dams. So it's important to remember that at the moment, Quebec exports about 12% of its electricity. And most of these exports are to the United States, and they're pursuant mostly to short-term contracts. So some of those export sales that are going to the United States could be diverted to Ontario. And in addition, it's important to remember that Quebec's electricity consumption per person is the highest in the world. The highest in the world, and double that of Ontario's. So what Hydro-Quebec should do is it should aggressively promote energy efficiency to reduce the electricity bills of its domestic customers, make its domestic customers better off, and this would free up more of its existing heritage hydroelectric capacity for export sales to Ontario and the United States. So to sum up, we can replace our aging nuclear reactors and move to a 100% renewable electricity grid by a combination of energy efficiency, stop wasting natural gas, and water power imports from Quebec, in addition to the new supplies that will come from Premier McGuinty's Green Energy Act. And according to our calculations, these lower cost options will reduce our electricity costs by $1.7 billion to $9.1 billion per year by 2030. And these huge cost savings from cancelling our wasteful nuclear spending program, these huge cost savings can be used to reduce your electricity bills and to protect healthcare and public education. So clearly it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to spend $80 billion on a nuclear spending program when there are cleaner, safer, and lower cost options to keep our lights on. But as we all know, political decisions are not always made on the basis of common sense or what is in the best interest of the average Ontario voter. And in Ontario, we have a very powerful nuclear special interest lobby. Its members include Ontario Power Generation, Bruce Power, SNC Lavalin, and the Power Workers Union. And as a result, our political decision-making has been biased in favor of high-cost nuclear for over 50 years. So in order to move to a 100% renewable electricity grid, we need a new Sir Adam Beck. We need a politician who will have the guts to say no to the nuclear special interest lobby. And we need an intelligent and strong political leader who will aggressively promote energy efficiency and water power imports from Quebec to move us towards a 100% renewable electricity grid and to reduce our electricity bills by billions of dollars per year. My friends, we need to work together to persuade Chris Bagley to be our new Sir Adam Beck. Thank you for your attention.